Good morning and welcome to the United States Institute of Peace, which was established by the U.S. Congress in 1984 as a national, nonpartisan public institution dedicated to helping prevent, mitigate, and resolve violent conflict abroad. We're delighted to co-host this year's opening day of PeaceCon with the Alliance for Peacebuilding, one of our country's most important peacebuilding organizations. USIP's partnership with AFP members, and the community of peacebuilders who gather every year for the conference makes this one of the most important events that we do here at USIP. Over the next several days, we'll be discussing changes in the way we build peace. When the UN turned 75 2 years ago, the countries of the world came together to discuss a new global compact known as the Common Agenda. A key part of this compact is the new agenda for peace. Across the world, as you probably know, a global consultation is currently underway with countries and non-governmental organizations and think tanks, civic groups, and community networks all offering their ideas and their vision for this brand new agenda on how we're going to promote global stability and peace. This year's PeaceCon is an opportunity for us to do the same by looking at our current architecture for peace building and offering our own recommendations on how peace builders can and should change the way we try and build peace globally. I'd like to extend a very special thank you to our co-host, the Alliance for Peacebuilding, to the Executive Director, Liz Hume. Liz has more than 25 years of senior leadership positions in bilateral, multilateral institutions and NGOs. She's great in policy and advocacy and has overseen important operations in Asia, Eastern Europe, and Africa. Liz, may I turn the podium over to you?
Good morning, everyone. Last year at PeaceCon, standing at this podium, looking out over an auditorium, and the seats were completely empty. This year, we're together. And I've hugged so many times. I don't think I've hugged this much since in the last 3 years. So I'm so grateful you're all here. I'm so grateful that we can also engage so robustly virtually with colleagues all over the world. So thank you so much for showing up. I know opening remarks are meant to be inspirational and motivating, but to be completely honest, I'm really struggling this year. And I know many of you are too, because you tell me. The recent outbreak of violent conflict and the threat of atrocities in Sudan, human rights abuses in Afghanistan, the war in Ukraine, and backsliding of democracy in the global north. These are tough times. But I'm not going to rattle off statistics to you because you know them. If you're sitting in this room, you know them. If you don't, you might be in the wrong conference. And we can't dwell on crisis messaging because we know what happens. We do know. We have a lot of brain science, behavioral brain science knowledge. We know that when we start crisis messaging, we talk about the problems, our brain shuts down, our frontal cortex shuts down. That's our problem solving, that's our empathy, and we need that here today, and we need that more than ever. And we also know these are human-made problems. If they are human-made problems, we can fix them. But we have to use our collective agency. We have more than we think we do. We have more power than we think we do. And we have to use our collective agency and demand that conflict prevention and peace building are prioritized and can't be a second order issue. Name your crisis is over. So it's up to us to finally integrate conflict prevention and peace building in the health sector, in the humanitarian sector, and we have some really good wins. The Global Fragility Act, of course, we'll talk about that. I couldn't be up here and not talk about it. We've built some amazing data over the last 2 decades. This data from the Institute for Economics for Peace, from the Fund for Peace, the OECD, this data has helped us make this case. And principles for peace. We'll hear about this more today. How do we build our standards and tell our story better so that it resonates with policymakers and donors and the public? So this past year, AFP, the Alliance for Peacebuilding, released its new strategy, its 10-year strategy to advance and build the field. That's all of you. You own the Alliance for Peacebuilding. It's your organization. We work for you. So that's what we're going to be rolling out along this conference and throughout the 10 years, and we want you to hold us accountable. I want to thank the U.S. Institute for Peace, their incredible staff. It's been a journey to get here. We're shaking off the cobwebs from COVID. And I also want to thank this amazing, small but mighty team at the Alliance for Peacebuilding. They're phenomenal. If you see these, tell them thank you. They've worked so hard. And I really want to thank Jessica Baumgardner-Zuzak. She works with me. She's my right hand, my left hand. She's in front of me, she's behind me. She's amazing, and I can't thank her enough. We also have an incredible board at the Alliance for Peacebuilding. I am so fortunate and privileged to introduce you to Charlie Bolden. He's our vice chair. He, besides being an amazing human being, he's a brilliant astronaut, and you went to space 4 times. He doesn't think he's a peace builder, but I tell him all the time he is. And I know you all want to ask him this question. Here's the answer. No, Liz, I wasn't scared when I was waiting for the rocket to go off. No, Liz, not even a little bit. So, Charlie.
Good morning, and thanks very much. It's a pleasure for me to be here. As I look around, I see some people who brought me to this community. Melanie Greenberg is here. Bob Berg is back there with my wife, Jackie. And so for some of the younger of you, you may not recognize those names, but they brought me into the peace building community. And I will disagree with one thing that Liz said. I do believe I'm a peace builder. Now, it has taken me some time. So I'm General Charlie Bolden, as Liz said, and I'm the current vice chair of the board of directors of the Alliance for Peacebuilding. And it's my great honor to welcome all of you on behalf of our AIP board to this year's PeaceCon. As a Marine, and yes, I am still a Marine. I am retired technically, but I'm still a Marine. I'll go to my grave that way. A former NASA astronaut and the 12th administrator of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration during the Obama administration, I felt right at home within this wonderful global community of peace builders since joining AFP's board a number of years ago. One of the things I admire about all of you, about this community, is the diversity of experiences, perspectives, and approaches that AFP's members and partners represent. Yet united under a common goal of advancing peace and peace building throughout the world. With my background in the military, I know firsthand the importance of preventing violent conflict and for the need to prioritize diplomacy and channels for dialogue at every level. As someone who collaborated closely with the Russians from my days as an active astronaut through my tenure as NASA administrator overseeing US participation on the International Space Station, for example, which has now been in orbit for 23 plus years. There has not been 1 second during that 23 years when we've not had human beings living and working off this planet together, peacefully, cooperatively, and we've gone down to 2 crew members every once in a while, and during those periods of time, those 2 crew members have represented the United States and Russia, so go figure. You know, I have firsthand experience developing a close working relationship and friendship with those I previously assumed were my enemies. Quick story about how I happened to fly my last space shuttle mission, which is the one that I cherish the most. There are none that I think are my favorite or my best or any of that, but the one I cherish the most was my last flight, STS-60, way back in 1994. I was here in Washington, D.C. at NASA headquarters, and my boss came in and said, hey, we want you to go back to Houston. I said, when? Just to get out of D.C. He said, well, soon, because we want you to command another shuttle mission. I said, great. We had not flown the first servicing mission to the Hubble Space Telescope, and having been the pilot for the Hubble Space Telescope deploy mission and left it in not great condition, I was really anxious to be able to go back and command the crew that would go repair it. They said, no, not going to do that. We already have a crew. I said, okay, what do you have in mind? They said, well, we are going to fly the first Russian cosmonaut on the space shuttle. I said, forget it, stop. I'm a Marine. I've trained all my life to kill those guys, and they've trained all their lives to kill me. I don't want to fly with any damn Russian. And he said, okay, calm down. There are 2 cosmonauts who happen to be here in DC, and they would like to have dinner tonight, and we'd like for you all to get together and just talk, and then come back in the morning and tell me what you think. And so I reluctantly went out to Reston and to a home of a friend of mine and met Sergei Konstantinovich Krikalev, who today is he actually runs human spaceflight for Roscosmos, for the Russian space agency. And Vladimir Titov, who was, in fact, a Russian Air Force fighter pilot who had trained most of his life to kill me. But we spent the evening talking. We started off talking about family and our kids, because all of our kids were very young at the time, and the kind of world that we wanted to leave them. And that's all we talked about the whole evening, and talked about the mission that we were going to fly, the opportunity we had to try to form some kind of bond that other people would understand. That was quite some time ago, and today they are still 2 of my dearest friends. So don't give up. As we kick off this PeaceCon 2023 to discuss new peace-building architectures for today and the future, I find inspiration in the creativity and energy you all bring to our work, and connections and new thinking that will arise during this conference. We're going to be discussing a lot of interconnected challenges we face as the human race, as well as the solutions you all bring forward. I know that this work is not easy at all, and that it's happening at many levels, at every grassroots community level and at the highest levels of international policymaking. But working in community, we stitch together this complex constellation of peace-building efforts to be more impactful than any one of us can achieve alone. It's exactly what Liz was talking about during her comments. Alone, it's easy to feel hopeless, but together we can do anything. As I said, I'm one of the lucky few that has had the good fortune to see our planet Earth from space. A life-changing moment for me and my comrades to experience each other as humans first and foremost. And this is a sentiment that I want to pass on to all of you as you go into the next 3 days. A sense of hope, a feeling of connectedness, a willingness to be open to new ideas and perspectives, and a commitment to continuing to work together in new ways for our common goal of peace across this globe. Thank you all for what you do for the world. The AFP board continues to be at your service and looks forward to getting to know each of you more over the coming days. A special thanks to the U.S. Institute for Peace and co-hosting with us on this first day. And a huge note of gratitude for the tireless efforts of Liz and Jessica and the entire Alliance for Peacebuilding staff, for the hard work that has gone into putting on one of the premier peacebuilding gatherings in the world. As they say, I say to my friends over in Israel when I talk to them every day, shalom. To the rest of you, God's peace. Have a great conference.